working cruise with, actually.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. So welcome, Nick. I appreciate you being on
Hey,
LinkedIn Live with me today. Thank you so much for being here.
good to be here. I think this actually, I've been on a few different types of streams, but I think it's my first time on LinkedIn Live, so that's fun.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, we have our mutual friend Jenny Zach to thank for this.
Yes, we do.
I love how you guys know each other. We know each other from church. So I went to church and Jenny and Tacoma and their boys were there, and that's how we met.
Got it.
But yeah, your story is it's much more salesy than mine. Much more yours is much more networking than mine, which is our topic of conversation.
You know what? Way to pull that full circle there, Alan. I like what you did there.
Yeah. But no, I really appreciate you being here, Nick. I have to ask because we put the marketing piece out there, and you're wearing a hat that was kind of cut off. But I'm pretty sure that was a Montreal Expos hat, right?
It is a Montreal Expos hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know what it's like to lose your team until you've lost your team. And, I'll tell you this, quick sidebar, growing up in Montreal, the Montreal Canadiens are like the New York Yankees of hockey, right? 24 Stanley Cups. I was actually a bigger Expos fan than I was a Montreal Canadiens fan. So
that was even worse.
Yeah, so there's no Washington Nationals gear anywhere near this place.
Who do you root for now? Just the Red Sox, right? I mean, no. You have to root for the Red Sox if the Expos are gone.
No. When I was 17, I moved to Toronto, so I became a Blue Jays fan. You got teams that are like dyed in your wool, but now I've been in Arizona 8 years, so I'm a Cards fan. So I'm picking up these random teams now.
I got it. None of them are going to leave town anytime soon.
No, better not.
Well, so I put out a post. This is how you and I came to know each other. I put out a post that said, I am trying something different, something new. I would like to expand my network and meet people that I have never met before. So if there's someone who first of all, if there's someone that you want to introduce me to, please do. Secondly, I want them to be somebody that you think is also great at networking. And that's how you and I met. So yeah, Jenny Zach making that introduction. What is it that Jenny Zach believes, Nick, makes you great at networking, in your opinion?
You know what it is? I think it's that I worked in the cruise business for the better part of 2 decades. And you just have to be naturally relational to thrive in that industry, I think. And, that's what I did. I was one of like 13 or 14 revenue departments. I was the least interesting one. People want to come to the spa and they want to go to the casino. They want to see the sun. And I'm hawking duty free in a dark theater. So I had to get out there and just ask people, where are you from? Where are you visiting from? And, I think I was naturally relational, but I just picked up this skill set over all these years. I actually lived on a ship for 10 years, or ships. So I think it just becomes, when you're that relational, I don't think of it as networking, right? I mean, it is. That's the halo effect for me, but I'm just getting to know people, which is really exciting for me.
That's great. So this is designed for all people, obviously. I mean, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn.
Yep.
But there are people not like you and I who aren't relational, who don't naturally have the inclination to walk up to somebody that they see wearing a Toronto shirt and saying, hey, where in Canada are you from? Or where'd you get the shirt? How do you advise people? I mean, because I know you do. I know you counsel, mentor, and coach people. How do you get them out of that mode of not being comfortable doing that?
So, it's interesting. I taught cruise, but it was sales, right? I've always been in sales. And I think what's interesting is one thing I've really come around on is whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you can be a great seller. And a big part of it is just asking really good questions, right? And whoever you're trying to talk to highlight them. And people love to talk about themselves. And I think what's interesting now is, let's say you're not naturally relational and want to reach out to people. I think one of the key things that I've discovered in the last year is content. And I think traditional networking has really changed. I mean, I remember going to BNI events like 20 years ago, where you had the one lawyer and the one realtor and the one landscape guy and et cetera, et cetera. But I think if if I was going to advise someone today who was like, I don't really know if I want to go out and shake hands and kiss babies, I would say just post content on LinkedIn. And that's the easiest way to start to develop a community of people. And I think, we talk about networking. I think the more, contemporary way to look at it is everyone has their own community, right? So you as Alan have your own community of people. And if you want to grow that community, content's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Big fan of that. And we can circle back on that or dive deeper if you like. Another one that's great is joining communities. So I'm part of, there's a tech sales community called Thursday Night Sales. I hang out a lot there, and the evolution of how my business has evolved the last year just from hanging out with Thursday Night Sales is incredible. Another sales group I'm a part of called Rev Genius. So where are the actual people in your community? And even if you work in, even if there's an insurance salesperson community out there, and you think, well, hold on, why would I go network there? And I think what's interesting is that when you network with your peers who are in different places and not your direct competitors, you all kind of draft off each other, right? You kind of learn from each other and figure out, well, so where are you finding more people that are looking for insurance, right?
Yeah.
As an example. So
yeah, for sure.
Those are the two things I pushed all my chips into the middle of the table on those two things in the last 12 months. And it really has been a game changer, absolute game changer.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like I was telling you before we went live, I watched a couple of your podcasts or listened to a couple of the podcasts that you've done. And there was one, like we were talking about, called Success by Live Chat, where you were interviewed and you said something that was very Dale Carnegie to me, which was the world is full of people who are grabbing, what Dale Carnegie said, which I think kind of references back to what you just said. The world is full of people who are grabbing and self-seeking. So it's the rare individual who unselfishly tries to serve others that has a huge advantage. And
Right.
you said something like that in that podcast where you're like, get to know the other person,
Right.
like really have an interest and show an interest in how you can help them first,
Yeah.
versus how they can help you. And the advantage automatically goes to you.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm not sure exactly how I would have said that, but that's absolutely the case, right? People really like to talk about themselves. And I think, I'm definitely an extrovert, but growing up in Canada, there was still a level of being a little bit more conservative when it came to talking about yourself or promoting yourself, which now I've done a 180 on, so we're good. But yeah, definitely talking to people, getting to know them. People love to talk about themselves, right?
Yeah.
People love to talk about their friends and family, where they're from, and themselves, especially Americans. One thing I learned on cruise ships, Americans really like to talk about where they're from. It's very tribal, right? Like we walk around with our colors, like, Arizona State, forget U of A, right? So yeah, just getting to know people and building rapport. And another thing too, actually, this is another thing I do a lot of. People will ask me questions, they'll reach out to me. And if I have some availability in my calendar, I'll just book a 30-minute call with them. And I'm not trying to sell anything, but I'll coach or teach them. And now at least they know exactly what I do. So that's when the real referrals come, right? And if someone wants to buy something from me at that time, so be it. But that's never the goal. I'm never, I'm just trying to give it out and just see what comes back.
Yeah. Well, I think that's so huge. I mean, you and I both being in sales, the last thing we want to do is like slam the door in somebody's face, because we've had the door slammed in our face so many times. But I think we get so many bad pitches. Like, when people are just trying to like connect with you, if somebody's trying to reach out to you and say, hey, Nick, I want to get into sales. I've never done it before, but I'm looking to network with you and learn from you and things like that. That's probably an easy one for you to say yes to.
Well, it's easy. And if I don't have a half an hour, I did it today. I was on a webinar earlier today and someone said, hey, I just got promoted from a sales development role, so like an entry-level sales role, to an account executive role. Where do I go and kind of learn about that? And so I opened up Loom, which is an app. I just made a quick video. It was probably 90 seconds. And then I just dropped it into the LinkedIn conversation. It populated with the thumbnail that it's actually me talking. And what I was, my daughter's off school today, so we were down by the pool. And I did it while I was watching her swim. It took me 90 seconds. I didn't even have to commit the 30 minutes, right? But I gave that person a lot of great direction.
That's awesome.
I think I did.
Yeah. You haven't heard back? Have you heard back yet?
Oh yeah, they were very grateful, and they said, "Okay, I'm going to implement all those things. Thank you so much.
Right
I
on.
appreciate it." Right. But what did I do now? I added someone to my community, right?
Yep.
I would have done it just to do it, but that's the positive. That's the positive byproduct of that conversation.
Right. So what would have been a different way for them to ask you for that you would have maybe said no to? Because I think that's also part of what we're trying to do is the right way to request
Yeah,
that 90-second video versus the wrong way to request that 90-second video.
that's a great question. So I think actually just kind of you said it, or alluded to it. Okay. Here's what puts me off. Someone will actually do I live on LinkedIn. I spend most of my day kind of with the LinkedIn browser open. And you need to be on LinkedIn. And you need to be active on LinkedIn. I don't care what kind of business you're in or where you're at in your career. That's the one thing, regardless of what your profession is, you should be active on LinkedIn, building your personal brand. And someone will send a really nice connection note, right? And I'll be like, okay, that was thoughtful. They actually took time to look at my profile, click accept. Then they'll spam me, right? 2, 3, 4. I actually did a video post this year because I got so frustrated I connect with people and then it's automated. This was the big thing of 2020 was these automated, and now still leaking into 2021, these automated LinkedIn messages where people will, it's not even them. It's not authentic. It's just they're blasting that out like they would an email blast. And there needs to be that level of personalization, especially on LinkedIn, right? Especially if you really are trying to build and connect with people.
No, it's incredibly frustrating. I get those all the time too, and I'm like, man, the AI is advantageous in a lot of ways, but not when you're trying to network with people or connect, like actually have a relationship or a connection with people.
100%. But I think too, let me try and answer that a better way. Your original question. I think if you just say, "Let me pick your brain," that's okay. Well, what does that mean? I'm not really sure. But if you're saying, "Hey, look, I'm new to this industry, or I'd like to get more in-depth knowledge," if it's not too much trouble, I always tell people, like, write it like you're a Canadian. Just be like uber polite. If it's not too much trouble, could I
You have to end it with
kindly ask?
sorry.
Like, a Canadian's only sorry if they say it 3 times. If they just say sorry, it's a passive aggressive apology. You got to say, "Oh, sorry, sorry, sorry." That's a real Canadian apology. True story. But I think if you just say, "Hey, can you direct me to some resources?" If you could just take a quick moment and kindly direct me to a few resources, I would be incredibly grateful. Well, I mean, 99% will do that for you when you say it that way. And you're not even asking for their time. And I bet you probably 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 would say, "Hey, listen, you want to hop on a call?"
Yep. Yeah. Who doesn't want to be kind? I guess there's a lot of people that probably don't want to be kind, but
A lot of people, yeah, see, Steven, 100%. I mean, like you DM me, and then I actually have one of my LinkedIn videos, and now I'll just copy and paste that. And I just drop that into the reply. Stop spamming on LinkedIn.
right.
Just to be a little tongue in cheek, right? But
Would you
yeah,
kindly stop spamming on LinkedIn?
That's good. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it.
What about connecting? Because I think about this all the time in the recruiting world, and people who are looking for jobs will oftentimes come to me when they start looking and say, "Man, Alan, I wish I hadn't let my networking go dormant.
Right.
I worked at that last company for 5 years and I didn't stay in touch with anyone." I'm like, well, it wasn't that you didn't stay in touch with anyone, because you probably had vendors, you probably had people that, you connected with inside work that maybe aren't there any longer. I mean, how do you recommend people grow from what they think is nothing?
Yeah.
I have 0 right now to work with. No one has 0. So what would be the thought process you would walk people through in order to get them over that first hump?
I'm going to go back to content, and I'll tell you a couple real easy ways to do it. The first thing people have to realize when it comes to creating any kind of content, you just need to be one rung higher on the ladder than someone else to give them value, right? And if you go out and you want to start, writing some posts on LinkedIn. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe you actually, that's a little scary for you. Curate content, right? So if I'm in recruiting, I'm going to follow, Amy Volas, for example. And, I'll share with my network, hey, Amy had this really interesting post today. I just wanted to share that. Or Amy had this really interesting post. Here's actually some thoughts I had about it, right? And I think if you're curating content, that's the easiest way. But the way I look at it is that I spend, 30 minutes a day on average, kind of outbound on LinkedIn, creating content, commenting on people's posts, following regular people. And that I look as my business development. I don't want to pick up the phone and cold call. I don't want to send emails. No, 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 no. There's a much easier way, and it's content. And I hesitated at first, and the reason was that I thought maybe after COVID I might go back to the cruise industry, and I was very well established. I'm connected to CEOs of cruise lines on LinkedIn, so just I was in the business for so long. Not that I brought them any value. Um, but I was hesitant, and then it was actually almost exactly, it might even be a year ago this week, that I threw up my first video. And it was about, a lot of what I talk about is I did stage presentations, and I taught stage presentations in front of like hundreds of people on cruise ships. And I just started talking about sales presentation stuff, and no one was talking about sales presentation stuff, right? So it just got a lot of traction. And that first video got like 3,000 views or something, which was crazy. And what was interesting was I had no experience in SaaS, software as a service.
Right.
But it was the SaaS sales community that started taking what I was talking about and sharing it and liking it and commenting. So now I'm building this new community where I knew no one. And now I'm going to the biggest conference next week, SaaStr in San Francisco. I'm going to another huge event in Las Vegas in October. I didn't know anybody, right? And I think that's also what's interesting is that if you do have ideas or things to talk about, it might not be who you think is actually going to be receptive to it and interested by it and, want to move forward with it, right?
Right. Yeah, it could end up being a completely different audience.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I had a very successful last 12 months, and all of it was via content on LinkedIn, knowing nothing about how to create content or how to get out there and actually do it. So that's one of the things I always tell people, because I don't want to pick up a phone, right? I picked up my phones in my day.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't, especially like today, it's kind of antiquated to me. Right? Especially if everyone's work from home now. I don't want to call someone on their cell phone and cold call someone's cell phone, right? And I have immense respect for the people that do it. But I was just, from my point of view, it's just a much more contemporary way. Like I wouldn't advise anyone to do it, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, or you have a professional service. Content is without question where I would put my business development time.
Right.
And then, sorry, Alan, I'll double down on this. One of the things that
do.
frustrates me is when people say, Nick, I don't have time. I don't have time. Okay, well, how are you selling now? Well, I sometimes, or I'm kind of, okay, so wait a minute, you're not selling, so you're fulfilling, which means you're too busy. Well, no, I could use more work, right? Okay, so your answer is you do have the time. Can you commit 30 minutes a week, 2.5 hours, 30 minutes a day, 2.5 hours a week? Can you do that? Because if you can't, I just talked to someone yesterday who has a huge brand building company out east. And I said, look, she was like, I'm not really sure how to get started on this or where to begin. I said, look, let's hang out. I'll share screens with you. We'll do a Zoom. We'll share screens as I kind of go through my little system of, creating content on LinkedIn and developing that community on LinkedIn.
Right. No, that's great. I want to encourage people, please also ask questions or comment or whatever as you're tuned in here. But so when you're talking about creating content, and again, back to people who are not like naturally extroverted, I want to start with the people who are not naturally extroverted.
Yep.
it's easy to like, it's easy to applaud, it's easy to hit the support button or the, oh, that's interesting. Those buttons on LinkedIn. But what about the comments? I mean, is it, would you say that commenting is as critical as liking, more critical than
But
liking? I mean,
yeah, people don't remember who likes, people remember who comment,
at
right?
all, right?
Yeah, yeah, you want to comment. And that's a great, even if you just comment, right? So let's say I'm looking for a job and there's a recruiter out there who now I'm following in the space that I want to get a job, or an executive or a head of HR from a tech company, and I'm trying to get into a tech company. Well, where do you think I'm commenting? Right.
Right.
But here's one of the best hacks I'll give you. Tell me, so this I have one rule. This is from the cruise ship days. I never talk politics or religion. But Alan, tell me something that you know that's not business related. Like, what's something you're really passionate about? Like, you could talk for hours about. What's something you could talk about?
Oh, running.
Okay, perfect. Open up a Word document, click dictate, and sit there and talk for 30 minutes about running. Just talk 30 minutes about running. That's it.
Yeah.
After 30 minutes, you'll have 8 pages of single space copy. And in there, you're just going with a highlighter, you've got 40 to 60 individual posts. That's 3 months worth of content from a 30-minute conversation about something you know. So you know what you do, right? But I
Right.
was just trying to paint the picture, right? So you live here in the valley, so maybe you run, maybe you trail run, maybe you run on the street. How do you handle the heat running in Phoenix? What kind of electrolyte tabs do you need? Because it's Phoenix, right? So
Right.
you gotta stay well hydrated. What are some big events coming up? You talk about that for 30 minutes.
Easy.
Easy.
Yeah. No, that's so true. That's so true. Um, is there a risk in your opinion, or have you seen it be a risk when people are like commenting on your stuff of getting into stalker mode? Like, is there overkill?
No, because the people, if you post every day, Alan, and I'm the first person to comment on your post every day, very likely within a short period of time, you'll be the first person to comment on my post every day.
Yeah.
Right. Don't ask, but offer insight too. Like, occasionally I don't have much and I'll just be like, love it, or someone will have a really good comment already and I'll reply to that comment and I'll say, hey, this was a really good comment. Thanks for that insight. It even, highlighted the post even more.
Yeah.
But then other times again, we'll talk about Amy Volas from Thursday Night Sales. She has a recruitment firm. She's huge in tech. And she had a post the other day, and it was the 16 key traits you look for in a sales leader. So I commented, I'm like, Amy, I'm curious, like, in your experience as a recruiter, what's the average of those 16 do you normally hit? Is it 8? Is it 12? Is it 2? Right? And that comment picked up a lot of speed. But it was just me thinking, well, there's no way you're getting 16, right? Like, if you get all 16, that person's not looking for a job. They're starting their own company.
Right.
So, really, where are you trying to land? Right.
Yeah.
Had you read the article, you would have had the same thought, likely. I just typed it out. Right.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, that's great insight because I think a lot of people miss that. A lot of people miss the fact that they not only need to comment, but they need to scroll through the other comments
Yeah.
and really kind of pick up and clue in on what other people are saying. And also, there might be more networking opportunities within those other people that are commenting and probably following the same thread or kind of staying within the same genre of people that you're attracted to.
100%. And it's just about being thoughtful and following people that are relevant, right? Like, I have some friends, I comment on their posts, but generally it's, people that, either have a huge following themselves, because, there's a couple people that I comment on regularly that have 200,000 followers. Well, if you have the most relevant comment, and these people post every day. So if you have the most relevant comment, that becomes the top comment.
Yep.
Right? Doesn't happen very often, maybe 1 out of 100 times I'm the most relevant comment, but I'm commenting on probably 100 posts a week, right? So sometimes it's a small post where I'll be the most relevant, but on a couple of them, I've just on my comment has had like 30 likes.
Right.
So that's people who I'm not connected to, and then they come and they look at your profile on LinkedIn. And it wasn't intentional. This conversation became very LinkedIn centric, but this is where you network in 2021, right? So it's another thing to consider too, is how is your LinkedIn profile laid out, and understanding what should be in there. What do you do? I tell people very often, they're like, Nick, what do I need? A 45-second elevator? Do I need, how long should my demo be? I'll say you need four kinds of conversations. You need your demo, which ideally is between 10 and 30 minutes tops, unless you're getting real granular. And if you want to take it to a technical demo, but you got that. Then you got a 3-minute elevator, which is your elevator with a couple case studies baked in, more, socializing kind of conversation. You got your 45 seconds, which needs to be tight. And then you need to tell me what you do in 10 words, like literally what you do in 10 words. And 9 out of 10, 99% of the population can't do that.
I was told there would be no math.
But that should be your title on LinkedIn. And you want to get as niche as possible. And people are like, well, hold on, but I do a lot of things in sales, but I talk about sales presentation skill development, because how much more niche does that get? Right. So now you'll have a tech company that says, oh my gosh, wow, actually, you know what? I have 100 sales development reps who are out there every day doing demos. Oh my God, or booking meetings, man, they need some engagement skills, right? Some presentations. Where do I sign up for this?
Yeah.
Right. So
the last thing I want to talk about, because I know you have a hard stop coming up, Nick, but there's so much negativity right now, even on LinkedIn. I mean, you said there's two things you should never talk about: religion and politics. I was raised the exact same way. We can't get away from it. I mean, we just can't get away from it. So,
yes, you can.
well, yeah, I mean, you can for sure, but it's hard. It's very hard to get away from. I don't comment on any of it. I don't touch any of it. I silence to the degree that I can silence it. But what do you say to people who maybe have chased those rabbits and are struggling to pull back and say, this is not help. None of that can help your career. I mean, I could tell you that firsthand. None of that is helping your
Here's
career.
the line. Michael Jordan said it years ago when he was asked, can you get involved in politics? We'd like you to get involved in politics. You know what his answer was? Republicans and Democrats both buy sneakers. Right? I mean, that sums it up. But what I'll tell you is, the news that's out there, there's no underlying explanation. It's just sugar. They're just trying to get hits, like anything else, any other kind of content. They're just trying to get hits. The best thing I did the last year, this is true. I just stopped watching the news. I stopped. I'll watch 60 Minutes, right? That's it. That way I get, some sort of global news view. But when I stopped doing that, I'm generally not a stressed out guy. I got even more mellow, right? Because I think that is an important thing. They want, a lot of people want you to be polarized, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I'll tell you, as a Canadian coming in, living in the US now, third party, neutral, I'm a permanent resident. I can't vote yet. But I think what's interesting is that, I guess I'm talking politics because I'm breaking my one cardinal rule here. But I think what's interesting is that this is a country of 340 million people. The world is not black and white. This country is not red or blue, right?
Exactly.
So I don't know. That's my take.
No, I just think we're talking networking, I would say purely from a networking perspective, just be cautious. People need to be cautious of, you're looking to make connections. You're looking to build relationships. I'm the same as you, Nick. I quit it all. I mean, turning off Twitter was probably the best thing I ever did. Because
I'm still on Twitter. I unfollowed a lot of things that just was not business related or social things I like.
Right.
And listen, if you want to get into a heated debate about anything we just talked about, do it with your friends.
Exactly.
Right? Whatever you want to talk out there. But anything that's public persona, and I include Facebook. I mean, there's I have friends and family that I just click unfollow. I didn't unconnect, but unfollow because I don't want to hear people yelling.
No.
Right? Life is short. I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy every day, right?
Exactly. Well, I can't thank you enough, Nick, for being here. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your insight and perspective very, very much.
Absolutely. You know what I'll do, just in case? Let me drop my LinkedIn. If anyone wants to connect on LinkedIn, always a pleasure. And here's my 10 words. because it's on my LinkedIn profile. Sales,
right on.
presentation, development, and delivery skills training.
Nice.
So if you land on my page, you know, that's, oh, did I put that in the private chat? Oh,
Yeah, but I can move it. I think I can move it. Let me see. Oh.
Anyway, you can see my name. There's not a lot of us. Look me up on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to connect if anyone wants to.
Let's see if I can put it there. Nope, I can't put it. Oh yeah, I can.
There you go.
Bingo.
Perfect. Bravo. Alan,
Excellent.
thanks so much, buddy. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, Nick. Tell Christine I said hello.
I will, 100%. We'll do
And
that.
hang tight. Don't go anywhere just yet.
Yeah, you got it, buddy.